Hi everyone, Anthony Morganti here. Recently, Adobe updated Lightroom Classic to version 13.3. In today's video, we're going to take a look at what's new and exciting in the latest version of Adobe Lightroom Classic. Now, like most updates, this update includes new tethering and lens support. I'll have that listed in the description below this video. This update also includes a few new features. Now, most of them I consider to be relatively minor. But one of these new features I consider to be relatively major. And in today's video, we're going to concentrate on that new feature. Now, Adobe has brought some of the AI technology that they've introduced in Photoshop over to Lightroom, specifically Generative Remove AI. Now, to get to it, you could use the keyboard shortcut Q, or you could click on this little eraser that's located near the top of the right-hand panel of the Develop module. When you click on that little eraser, you'll notice that the tools that were historically in Lightroom Classic are still here. We have this clone stamp tool, we have the heal tool, and we have the eraser. The eraser, though, now has added to it this generative AI functionality. Now, if you want to use generative AI, make sure that you have it checked. If you just want to use the eraser tool like it used to be, or like it used to operate in the past, just turn that off. You could turn off Object Aware too, and then it will operate like it used to, meaning you could like remove sensor spots with it and things like that. It just will not use any AI technology to do that. On the other hand, if you want to use the generative AI technology, just make sure you have this checkbox checked. And also, if you checked Object Aware, what it will do is it will look to see if you're trying to remove an object it is familiar with. For example, a person or a car or something that it knows, like it's in its database basically. And then it will refine your selection so that you're selecting just that. For example, let's say I want to remove this person and her shadow. So I would have Object Aware checked. Of course, I'll have Generative AI checked. And then I'll get a smaller brush. And what I could do is I could just go around the outline of the person like this. And I wouldn't even need to do the middle, but since I'm right here, I'll do the middle. But because I have Object Aware on, it would probably, figure out that you're trying to remove the person from the scene. I also want to remove the shadow, so I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to go over her shadow as well. So all in one fall swoop, and I'm doing this for a specific reason. Because you'll see how Object Aware works. It will recognize the person, and it will do a more precise selection around her, but it won't recognize her shadow. So you see how I have the person selected, right? And I'll let go, and it does the object selection where it selected the person, but it did not select her shadow. But that's okay, because after you do your first selection, your object selection, you'll get a mask refinement option with an add and subtract brush. So of course I want to add the shadow. So I'll just come in here and add the shadow. Now this will not use Object Aware. So just try to select just the object you want to remove and nothing more. So don't try to go too far outside of what you're trying to remove. So once you do that, then you could click Apply. Once you do that, it will use the AI technology. It will actually send the image up to Adobe servers to remove not only the object, but the shadow in this case as well. And, depending on the speed of your internet connection or how busy their servers are, this could take a little while. And you could see that it did a fine job. It really does most often do a great job. Now, it will give you 3 variations. You could see right here, and you could use the arrow keys to access them. And you can see how it's changing the sidewalk or cement blocks there a little bit each time. And you could choose which one you like. If none of those 3 look good to you, you could click Refresh, and then it will do 3 more. In this case, I think all 3 of them look fine. Now, one thing I do want to mention, in the past, there was an option called Visualize Spots. And if you turned on Visualize Spots, you'd get this kind of negative image. And that was down here in the toolbar, which is right above the film strip, the toolbar. And they've moved it now. It's up here. So just be aware of that. Now, I found that this does work very well, but at times it will give you kind of weird results. So let's go to another image and do this one. Now, there isn't really probably a discernible object here. I think a car is an object that Adobe's AI would recognize, but because this is an overhead shot, it won't recognize the cars. But I want to show you how this works anyway. We're going to have Generative AI on, an object aware on, and I'm going to select all the cars and the shadows. But you'll notice now, like I'll select this car in the far left and its shadow, and I'll come in like this and do my selection. Now I want to select all the cars, right? But once I let go, it's going to try to find, because I have object aware on, it's going to try to find the car. And it did, and it found the shadow as well, I guess. But you'll have the add, and subtract brush available to you. So I could continue now with everything else. And this may take me a second to do all of these. Now, one thing, I've done this, obviously, before I did the video, I tested this out on this specific image. The first time I did it, it worked beautifully. It was like unbelievable. It was like as though this little parking lot had no vehicles in it at all. All the lines were perfect. The little bricks were all perfect. Really, it was amazing how good it was. And all three variations were actually perfect. Then, a day or two later, I tried it again, and it took away all the cars but two on the far right. Left the two there, but I did find a variation that was better. By the way, you could resize the brush with the slider over here, or with your bracket keys. The right bracket key will make it larger, left bracket key smaller. So that second time, it left these two cars right here, and I had to come in and then do it again to remove those cars, but it eventually did work. What I'm getting at is your results will be maddening, because sometimes it'll work perfectly, and then other times it won't. It just won't. For lack of a better way to put it. So it could drive you crazy, because you're going, well, it just worked yesterday on a similar image, and it doesn't want to work on this image. Yeah, get used to it, because that's what's going to happen. And it's those of you that have used the similar tools, AI tools in Photoshop, know that that's the same thing in Photoshop, that typically the tool will work once fine, and then it doesn't work ever again sometimes, and it'll drive you insane. So we only have a little more to go here. Bear with me. So you see, I am trying to get rid of a large part of the image, and we'll get rid of the shadow over here as well. Okay, once you're satisfied, you have everything masked the way you want it, just click apply. And this one will take a little while, I noticed, because I am removing a lot. So while it's doing that, I just want to mention very quickly that if you want to learn more about Lightroom Classic, I have an entire course on Lightroom Classic. In the description below this video, I'll have a link to it. It's on my website, anthonymorganti.com. Currently has over 60 videos, hours and hours of training. With each video, you get a PDF outline of that video, and you get all of the images I use in the videos so you could work along at home. Again, in the description below this video, I'll have a link to it, and I'll have a discount code so you could save a few dollars on it. So we'll come back over here, and you can see it's still doing it, and we'll see what it does this time. Is it going to leave a car or two? No, it actually did pretty good. Look at that, first try. It does look really good. And there is a second variation, just move kind of oil stains around, and a third variation. I kind of like that third one, I think. The third one and the first one, maybe the third one best. Kind of like that. But you could see it did a great job. Now, where it seems to do a horrible job is where I would think it would do a good job. Here's one with a young woman. She's in front of the brick wall, taking a selfie. And you would think it would do a good job if I wanted to remove her, because the bricks are kind of regular, right? Well, every time I have tried to use it on this image, it doesn't do it, period. So we're going to keep object aware on. And let me just try to see if it will find her, first of all. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and we're just going to do her outline, because with object aware on, if it is familiar with the object, like if an object, like a person is an object, is in the database, it should find it. So I really don't have to do the middle So we'll let it see, and you can see how it selected her. So it did a great job finding her. I do not have to add or subtract from the selection. So I'm going to click apply. And again, every time I've done this, it failed miserably. For whatever reason, it sometimes would put an odd person in there. Sometimes it would just have the bricks, but it would look like there's an odd person. It would remove the person, but it would look like there was like a burn stain on the wall, for lack of a better term, another person. And you'll notice too, as is the case with the AI tools in Photoshop, whenever the AI tools in Photoshop like add a person, that person doesn't look like a living, breathing human being. They look more mutant. So with every case, you could click refresh again and it will do 3 more. I'm not going to bother doing it because trust me, it just will not do it. I've done it on this image dozens of times. It just cannot do it properly for this image. So that is something that hopefully will improve. Where it actually does seem to work very well is when you have some distance between the person and the background. For example, with this image, I'm going to use leave Generative AI and Object Aware on. And again, I'm just going to go around the outside of this lady. I may have to add her shopping bag, but we'll see. Come in here. This and like that. And it should catch the middle as well. And it did. I have to add just a little bit right in here. So it isn't too bad. So we add right there and we'll click apply. Now, every time I've tried it, well, I only tried it once on this image and it worked fine. So we'll see what it does. It do its thing. Now, I'm going to show you what it will do if you have Object Aware off in a moment. So you get an idea. Yeah, see how it did a pretty good job. And there's second variation, third variation. I think the first one might have been the best. So we'll go to this one. If you have Object Aware off, what will happen is it will not try to find a specific object in there. And again, it considers like a person an object. So in that case, if you do have Object Aware off, you would have to paint the entire person or object for that matter. So we're going to have to make sure that we do everything here, including like the middle part. But it still should do it because we have Generative AI is still checked. All right. And see how it just right where I painted is where it masked. It didn't try to refine the mask onto the object. We'll click apply. And this has worked well every time too. So again, whenever you have an image that has a person with tend to be a blurry background, like with a lot of space behind them. Here it added some rocks down here. It gets sometimes weird results. Yeah, see? Now, if it did this, what you're going to have to do then is use Generative AI again and come in here and do it again. So what so when I go to hover over it, you see how it's won't let me paint. I'd have to come off it and paint over it. What you could do is just close the tool and reopen it. Then with the brush, you could come in and do that and do this. And we have part of a shadow in here too. I neglected to get rid of. Let's see if we could do that now. So you might have to take a couple steps at times. And to tell you the truth, this is the first time on this image that I had to take more than one step. It, in the past, did remove the person fine in the image. But like I said, the results are hit and miss, and it can be maddening because it seems to work fine sometimes and other times it doesn't. So variation 1 looks pretty good, 2 looks good, 3 looks good. So we did it. It took 2 steps on that. Now, like this image here, there's a lot of space between the person. So if you have Object Aware on, just one more time, when you have Object Aware on, when you paint, it will try, see, even though I'm going way outside of her arm and now her hip, and I come across and I go around out her hip here and then around her arm. When I'm done, and I don't do the middle at all, what it's going to do is it's going to try to find the person and just mask the person, and you could see it did, and then we could click apply. And once it does, hopefully it will look pretty good. And this one isn't, this specific image is in focus more so front to back. So I had mentioned that it seems to work best if you have some blur in the background, but it works okay on an image like this as well. And there's different variations. Look at this. These look like giant phones back here. I don't know what that is, but that one looks okay, version 3. So this new feature, I had mentioned in previous videos that I expected them to bring more of the AI features that they've introduced into Photoshop over to Lightroom, and that's exactly what they've done here. They brought over Generative AI Remove. And again, if you just want to use the Remove tool like you historically did, just uncheck both these boxes, and then you'll just, on this case, because I'm on an image, I should have closed it first. Let me undo that. I'll hit Command-Z, close it, reopen it. Now, if I want to use these like I historically have, just uncheck the box, and then you could come in and try to remove something like you did in the old days, which was like yesterday, right? So you could do stuff like that. And it doesn't use any generative features to do that. So if you want to remove a pimple on someone's face and you don't want to have it do generative AI, just uncheck those boxes and you'll be able to remove a pimple or a blackhead or a sensor spot or a light, as I did there. So that's it. That's the major new feature in this version of Lightroom. That's version 13.3. In a few days, I'm going to do another video, and we're just going to go over very quickly some of those minor features. There's not much there, though. Nothing earth-shattering, and probably most of you won't even notice them. But this one here, I think, took some explanation to try to explain how to use it properly. Thank you, everyone who watches my videos. I really do appreciate it. Talk to you guys soon.